I just want to read this to you before I start my lecture on the myth that we are living now that is influencing you, that may well be the impulse that has been set aflame in you that you had nothing to do with. And I want you to put yourself in a place by yourself. I want you to go someplace by yourself. I want you to turn down your five senses. You are not looking at me. I don't want you with your eyes open. You may drift into some meaningless spot and give in to your chaos, and that's your choice, but it's not a wise one. I want you to go someplace that is receptive to the holy. I want you to imagine that you've come to a sanctuary because something profound is about to happen, but you didn't know what, and you don't know what. But you're about to have a sacred and holy encounter. You've been summoned. You have been summoned. You've been awakened in the middle of the night. Hurry, it's time. And you're disoriented because you're supposed to be disoriented. And it's barely lit. And you go into this little chamber. There's only a dim candle, a very dim candle. And in that comfortableness, you can't see who's speaking to you, but you hear a voice, a deep voice, a soft voice, a curious voice, who says to you, "Who is this that darkens counsel by words without knowledge? I will question you. Only me, and you listen. Where were you when I laid the foundation of the earth? Where were you? Tell me if you have understanding. Who determines its measurements? Surely you know, or who stretched the line upon it? On what were its bases sunk, or who laid its cornerstone? When the morning stars sang together and all the sons of God shouted for joy? Or who shut in the sea with doors when it burst out from the womb? When I made clouds its garment, and thick darkness its swaddling band, and prescribed limits for it, and set bars and doors, and said, thus far shall you come and no further, and here shall your proud waves be stayed. Have you sitting there opposite me, commanded the morning since your days began, and caused the dawn to know its place, that it might take hold of the skirts of the earth and the wicked be shaken out of it? It is changed like clay under the seal, and its features stand out like garment. From the wicked their light is withheld. From the wicked their light is withheld, and their uplifted arm is broken. Have you entered into the springs of the sea, or walked in the recesses of the deep? Have the gates of death been revealed to you, or have you seen the gates of deep darkness? Have you comprehended the expanse of the earth? Declare if you know all this. I'm listening. Declare if you know all this. Where is the way to the dwelling of light? And where's the place of darkness, that you may take it to its territory, and that you may discern the paths to its home? You know, for you were born then. You were born then. Take note. And the number of your days is great. Have you entered the storehouses of the snow? Have you entered the storehouses of the snow? Or have you seen the storehouses of the hail, which I have reserved for the time of trouble, for the day of battle and war? What is the way to place where the light is distributed? Where the light is distributed, or where the east wind is scattered upon the earth? Who has cleft a channel for the torrents of rain and a way for the thunderbolt, to bring rain on a land where no man is, on the desert in which there is no man, to satisfy the waste and desolate land, and to make the ground sprout with grass? Has the rain a father, or who has begotten the drops of dew? From whose womb did the ice come forth? And who has given birth to the frost of heaven? I'll let you think about that. Come on back. Imagine such a conversation. Imagine. I must read this. I imagine such a conversation. I do imagine that conversation. I love to imagine that conversation. I adore that conversation. You must read the book of Job. I love it. Just the words, the poetry alone is worth falling into your ears. The poetry. Who hides the rain? Who asks a question like that? But this is how you should talk to your soul. I'm not reading this to you to fill time. I'm reading this to you because some part of you should feel chills. Some part of you should feel, oh, this is how you talk to that part of yourself. Proportion. Proportion. Putting the cosmos in you is not about reading ordinary literature, but sacred literature. You have to read the sacred. Ordinary books won't do it. They won't do it. You've got to read the sacred, and you have to imagine that those conversations really happened. Because they probably did. And you have to put yourself there. And imagine the divine sitting there and saying, where were you when I laid the foundation of the earth? Do you know where I've hidden the hail? Or where I've put the rain? Imagine someone asking you that. And that's how tiny you are. And that's what you should bear in mind about your sense of how much you know, and more than that, how much you think you're entitled to know. How about zero? And then you close that and say, I need to remember myself. That sound is being recorded, and I'm not appreciating it. Thank you. Okay. Okay. You could put it in a dish. Do you want it in a dish? Okay. Because I don't mind you eating. I just don't want the sound of plastic. Now, your soul knows myth. And then we get to your myth. Because that's a primary language of your soul. And when your myths shatter, you shatter. And the whole of your world shatters. And your body shatters. And one of the great teachings that you need to understand, and it is something that people just don't get, they don't get, is that what goes on in you, what goes on around you, what goes on in every fiber of you, is a product not just of Your personal physical world, meaning what you eat, this world. Your tiny little itsy bitsy physical world. Your first area, your DNA, what you inherited from your parents and what you just drank in the hall, and that's this little first power zone area. But it's also the result, come up here, this is high cosmic law and truth, 10th floor. It's also the result of everything going around in the world. The world is in you and you are in the world. That is a perception on the highest floor of your building. That's a perception that you easily can dismiss unless you get how powerful that is. So the following is about a myth that is fully, totally controlling you and fully, totally controlling us. And it has changed absolutely everything. It has recalculated us and recalibrated us. It has redirected every single personal relationship in the Western world and in the Eastern world. It has recalibrated down to our very definition of intimacy. There isn't one relationship that hasn't been reformed because of this. Not one. The banking system, the financial system, the churches, the breakdown of all marriages, every single type of relationship, absolutely everything. All the way people kind of go about trying to understand everything in society. They can go about all the days of their life and they'll never crack through it unless they understand this myth. So they're just butting their heads up against the wall. And they can just go about in all their little fear patterns and all of this. They will stay in fear and they will collapse under the weight of it because they do not get what's really going on. They're looking in all the wrong places. Unless they understand what has evolved in the mythic atmosphere, they will never, ever get. Because it is not unlike you having a problem with your health, your life, anything, and going to the doctor and saying, just take my blood pressure, do I need a pill, and fix me up. But I'm not interested in knowing if anything that I think has been true all my life is no longer true. If what I believe to be true about myself is simply not true and everybody else knows it, but I don't want to face it, so that the whole of my world is crumbling, you mean I'm not this? And everybody else knows it, but I'm spending all my life, all my time now, avoiding everybody else who knows what I don't want to know. You're a frigging addict. But I don't want to know that. So I have broken down all my basic relationships, all my everything. I've lost my job. I steal money from my friends in their drug cabinets. I do all kinds of nefarious, egregious activities. I make up excuses, tell myself all kinds of narratives as to why I do this. They all know it. They spot the addict archetype in me. It's time for me to acknowledge this archetype, but I don't want to do that. I still need to tell myself that's not true. In the meantime, this whole world is crumbling. And I'm willing to sacrifice this whole world. I'm willing to let everything familiar go because I must hold on to my perception that I'm not an addict, which is part of the addict pattern. Everybody who's ever been with an addict knows, how does this pattern go? Well, first comes the behavior, then comes the stage of denial. So anyone who's been with an addict can say, are they in the denial stage yet? What are they willing to lose during that stage? Have they begun the serious lies? First comes the BS. For those of you who are foreigners, do you know what BS means? Mm-hmm. Bullshit. Okay. First comes the BS. But then it moves into progressive big lying. Big, huge lies. Big, huge lies. Great, big, huge. Like, are you drinking? No. What's in your hand? Doesn't that look like Stolichnaya vodka? No, it's this empty bottle. That's water. I don't know how it got here. I found it in the toilet. In the back of the toilet. How do you think it got in there? I don't know. It's the most amazing thing. I don't know. It was the plumber. Right. Yeah, I'm sure it was. I'm sure it was. Absolutely the plumber. Okay. The big lies. You can chart it because that's how the addict works. And then finally, the addict will collapse. This is the pattern. Your soul knows your patterns. It's important that you understand this. And when you say, I want to know the anatomy of my soul, you've got to know your archetypes. That's what you're asking to know. I want to know myself through my archetypes now. It's not enough for me to know myself through my spirit and the nature of my spirit, which we'll describe, or my personality and the nature of my ego. I want the major league information. I want to know my myths. I want to know my myths. I want to know my myths, another kind of myth. I can do everything. How many people, I always thought I could do everything. How can it be that I can't do everything? I always thought I would be able to da-da-da-da, okay? Well, that goes with the hero. That goes with the invincible me. Okay. Well, societies and nations have myths too. Okay. The sun never sets on the British Empire. A myth that drove the nation for, all right, America is the land of the free and home of the brave. It used to be. And that myth is crumbling and it's taking down a good people. But that myth's no longer true. It's simply not. Okay. So these mythologies, when we feel them collapsing because we don't articulate them, they get articulated through behavior. They get articulated through aggression. Your soul is a signal. It goes ding, 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 because it spots it. It speaks it. It acknowledges it. Now, the myths at a larger level are the collective myths of humanity. And they're the myths that shift, that determine when there is a change in evolution. Not just a change in the shift of the direction of a nation, but the direction of civilization. Okay, civilization. That's what we're going through now. The shifts in the direction of human nature itself, which is why everything's rocking and rolling. And you have to really get that, because that's the myth that has you. That's the myth that is changing all of us. All of us. And the extent to what is directing our lives. This is the myth that is more strongly directing you than anything you can do personally. And to show you how strong this is, whatever... I think it's Selena, am I pronouncing your name right? Celia? Celia and I were talking about archetypes on break. Show you how powerful they are. An archetype is something you are that you can't stop being, or something you are in your nature that is just so you. It is you. What would your friends say is just so you? It's just you. It's just who you are. People in this room have already identified some of your archetypes even though they don't know you. This is how much you are. The entertainer. Okay, but you're also bohemian. You're like my niece. My niece is like you. That's why immediately I looked at you and said, oh. You're like my Rachel. And my nieces are like my daughters, because I don't have a daughter, so I daughtered them up. and I mean, I hear from them every other day for threat of blackmail. Right. I'm really close to my girls, okay? But you're like my Rachel, just like that, just the same hair, like potluck at a laundromat. But it's like hair, but it's like hair art, no really, but it's hair art, okay? And I look at you and I think you need mothering. You need mothering. Yeah, same thing, okay? So, but you spot this, okay? And you have your archetype. It's what you can't stop being. And whether or not I like it, which is a pain, I spot the ones that need that kind of nurturing. I don't want to be that way, but it's like, the ones that are, and it's the medical intuitive, it's that part of me that simply thinks, I'm doing a reading, that one, I need to fill that in before she goes. I need to fill it in. I don't want to be that way. I can't stand that part of myself. I even go to bed thinking, oh, you can't stop being you. Okay, that's your archetype. And you have myths you tell yourself. In the extreme, they get you in trouble. When they're balanced, they keep you going. When you ignore them completely, you implode. You cannot, but when you say to someone, I can't be myself around this person, what you mean is, I have to lock this archetype up. I have to lock it up. I have to hide this whole part of myself around this person. I can't feel outrageous around this person. This person can't take my outrageous side, my playful child. This person can't take my artistic, wondrous part of me that wants to just be artistic and wonderful. And whenever this person's around, I feel like, and I have to say to that part of me, go to your room. Don't come out, go. And there's a whole part of your psyche goes, go, I said go. And the only part you can show is how are you? Fine. I said, go! Right. And the way you have to keep it down is you start doing things. Maybe you drink. Maybe you turn to a channel and you find outlets to let yourself out. What do you think that word means? To let yourself out. Get an outlet. How many can I have? I'm an escape hatch. Okay, this is what archetypal patterns. But when you are up here, down here they're called personality defects. They're called being bipolar. They're called all kinds of things because you can't read archetypes. You don't get what they really are. Now, the greater archetypal pattern that envelops us all is what I need to tell you about. So you get what's going on in you and around you. Because it's important that you get that in your soul is a receptor for larger than yourself. The capacity to say, I'm picking up psychic free radicals that are not mine. And they're going through me. And the anguish that I feel is not mine. And it's going through my anatomy. I'm picking up a collective sadness, and it's not mine. But if you don't have a sense of that, you are going to do what the ego says and say that it's yours because you think everything is. You think everything is. And you will do whatever, which is, people don't even let other people have their bad days by themselves. You have a bad day and someone says, did I do something wrong? Why does my bad day have anything to do with you? What the hell? Get away from me. My bad day is my bad day. Now it's all about you. Now it's all about you. Get away from me. Now I got to listen to why you think it's about you. Get away. God, you're just like a parasite. I can't even have my own, process my own stuff without you making it about you. Get out of here. Okay? That's this level. Here it's about, I don't know, I've got something going through me and it isn't about me, but it's about the greater whole. You have to be able to recognize not everything's about you, but where do you stop and where does the collective begin? And in order for you to get that, you really have to get yourself at the archetypal level. So I'm going to tell this myth, because you have to get this. At least you have to hear it. How well you get it is your choice. Up in the higher altitudes, this column is you at the impersonal level. These energy fields, 1 through 3, 4 through 7, this is you personally. But when you get to 8, 9, and 10, there's nothing personal about the world of archetypes, the graces, or the laws. Just like when I read anything about the scriptures, whether I'm reading from the Quran, or the Old Testament, or the New Testament, or the Bhagavad Gita, no matter what I read, all the mystical texts from the Sufi tradition or from any mystical tradition, it doesn't matter, no matter what sacred literature I read. All of it is speaking about law, Taoism, the Buddha. It's all about the laws of the cosmos when you get to their mystical sacred teachings, and that's all up here, in which they're talking law and the structure and the order of the universe. And when you're talking about the laws, you're talking about how the divine itself, like the divine with Job, has set up a system that even the angels and the dark forces are subject to. They can't mess, they can play within the system, but they can't mess with the system. So all the forces within the system are subject to the force that they are themselves. Now I've just told you a jewel. Gravity is subject to being gravity. And even when gravity finds out that it's gravity, it can't change to being non-gravity. And all the knowledge that it has of being gravity cannot allow it, give it power enough to turn itself off. It can only be gravity. Are you with me here? Yeah. Understanding this kind of knowledge, this kind of perception, is so much power I can't even be. This is sacred knowledge when you begin to get this, which means that you cannot behave other than what you are when you understand what you are. Nor can anything else you are looking at, nor can anyone else. If you recognize what you're looking at, that through your soul, I am observing a human being who has the warrior archetype, he will go to war. Even if he says to me, I have become peaceful, he does not get that he himself cannot be peaceful. But I get that because I see what archetypal pattern I'm dealing with. What I do hear him say is, I would like to be peaceful. And that is what I will respect. But I know the nature of the warrior archetype, and I know that someone who wants to go to war will find him and draw the sword out or draw the arrow from the quiver and make him shoot. Even though he says he doesn't want to, he will ride even accidentally. By the law of magnetic attraction, he will find the battlefield. This is very richly illustrated in the third book of Mario Puzo's The Godfather, where the Godfather says, I'm trying to give it up, but it won't let me go. The mafia won't let me, the darkness won't let me go, it won't let me go. But he had an archetypal pattern. The Godfather is an archetypal pattern, and you can't get out of what you are. And even though he tried to be the benevolent and pass it on, it's not going to happen. He can do what is within the pattern. Here, you take it, but no, he became the emeritus Godfather. Now, if you know your patterns, if you know a pattern, you know that it has to function within the pattern. Now, having said that, in 1944, Oppenheimer split the atom, and we entered the nuclear age. Now, that's actually what happened. The physical, the Manhattan experiment. This is what happened in the physical world. Now, I want you up here on the high levels. I want you up here. I want you to understand what actually happened at the high level. The big, huge, symbolic, what actually happened up there. That down here it looks like they just in a tiny experiment. But remember, what is in one is taking place in the whole. So by splitting the atom, the whole of the human atom was split simultaneously. So it wasn't that the atomic age was entered into in an experiment in a laboratory. All of the human experience shifted into atomic consciousness while we slept. So in 1944, while we slept, the whole world was recalibrated into nuclear consciousness. Now, what does that mean? Well, let's just play it out for a microcosmic second. A new myth was activated that had been dormant, but now it was cosmic size. And you got to get this, because this is the myth that has morphed us and is controlling us and has controlled the evolution of the human species and the planet, and every single thing from that point on is under the hubris of this myth. Prometheus stole the fire from Zeus. That's what Oppenheimer did. He was the new Prometheus. And he went up to the Mount Olympus and he stole the fire from Zeus, the new fire, nuclear energy. And Zeus, in his rage, said, how dare humanity steal a new fire? They're not ready for this element. So he grabs the goddesses, what will become the new feminine movement. He grabs them, Athena, Hermes, Venus, Aphrodite, get over here. And he says, make me a new goddess, a fake one. Fake, false. Emphasis, false. Let's call her Pandora. She's not really born of true goddess forces. She's a false construct, a hybrid. Send her down to marry Epimetheus, the brother of Prometheus. Wait, and here's the wedding gift. A jar, some say a box. He says, now, don't open it. You must not open this. Tell her she must not open this. Now, Prometheus, who knows how clever the gods are, tells his brother, don't you ever accept a gift from the gods. No, 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 no. And he says, I promise you, promise me, promise, promise. But there's a knock on the door. And Hermes is there with Pandora. Behold, I bring you a gift from Zeus. And there she is in all her glory, an artificial hybrid goddess. Your new wife. He can't turn it down. He is gobsmacked. Sparkles are in his eyes, and he marries Pandora. A false feminine, which will become the first wave of the feminist movement. In she comes holding this jar. What's that? The wedding present. When am I supposed to open it? Okay. So Epimetheus, who doesn't even talk to his brother now because he screwed up everything, but he doesn't know yet. Pandora circles, it circles, it circles. What to do, what to do, what to do. Opens the lid. Well now, what pops out? The shadow side of the collective human psyche. Kaboom! Out comes the dark night of the soul. Out comes the archetypal world. Out comes all the interior suffering of 2,000 years. We had all this catching up to do. Out comes the depth of human darkness to balance off what Oppenheimer had done on the altar of death. And what did Oppenheimer say when he split the atom? Anybody? We have become death. He knew what he had done. He quoted the gods in Greek mythology. He knew. And think, in splitting and going to this different mythic level of power, of fire, as Prometheus, he was, give me the fire, we are becoming death. And he turned it into a weapon. Now, think, ever since then, the history of us has become nothing but a history of chasing the fire. Who has it? What country has it? Who has it? Where is it? Everything. Every single policy is about who has it. Every single camera that is up in this country and everywhere else is about finding people who could have it, might have it, where is it? Every single security thing, every single everything. The suspicious, the lack of safety is all about because we split that atom, which triggered the Cold War, which triggered the nuclear age, which triggered everything, triggered all of our sense that here, the fundamental design of us, our two base wheels, are the need to create and the need to create life, the instinct to survive and the instinct to create, which has brought humanity through everything, storms, and from Noah's flood to everything, to get up and keep going. The generations of people born from 1944 on are the only generations that have ever grown up and drunk the poison of wondering, will we survive from day to day to day? Will our world blow up? Will we be nuked? Are we going to make it? Will there be another generation? Our films tell us maybe, maybe not. Our literature, 1984, from George Orwell to on and on and on. The subtle messages are constant. Maybe we'll make it, maybe we won't. Maybe we'll make it. Since 1944, most of the scientists have been absconded by military forces to be used for the creation of weaponry. The drug industry has thrived in order to drug the consciousness to stop its progression into this world. Into this world. Because as you move inside, you go through the natural progression of the dark night, the natural awakening into yourself. Your Pandora's box, But because there's an absence of the spiritual direction, the absence of the guidance to yourself, because we don't have the spirit, because we threw out babies with bathwaters, we threw out, I don't have to go to church, I don't have to do this, I don't have to have any spiritual direction, I don't have to do this, I don't have to pray, I don't have to do this. Fine. Well, where are you going? Well, you're going to the psychiatrist for that. You're going to the therapist for that. Fine. You don't think you need any help? Which way you're going when your interior world starts to become imbalanced because you're searching for you. You're going to the pharmacist now. Because when you start going into your interior world, nobody goes there without a guide. And if you go there without a guide, you're going to go there with drugs. Because it's a journey of awakening your Pandora's box. What's in there? Emotions, this, that. It's going to be a very tumultuous journey of self-discovery, of self-knowledge, of opening this inner world. And if you don't know that it's going to be, archetypally, it's going to be this type of journey. It's going to scare you, it's going to this. You're going to think that the world, that people should, that you are experiencing something just unique to you. Instead of getting, there's nothing unique to you. Not at all. But if you support your uniqueness by thinking it's just me, and go to those ridiculous support groups and just me, you will never heal. You will never get better. And you will only drug your pain endlessly. You go to someone who gets that it's part of your spiritual awakening, they will say, this pain is fabulous. It's exactly what you should have. Exactly. Now let's get through it. And I will not drug you, and you will not take a medication. Don't you dare. What you will take is this route. I want to hear about it. I want to see how it speaks to you. And here are your prayers for the next week. And I want to see how the praying goes. You better believe you're going to be in pain. This is fabulous. And here's the next pain train. Expect this. Because this is how you get out. It gets darker, and then you get out. Here's your support team. But you're not allowed to repeat yesterday. Just today. Talk about today. These are the dreams. You should have dreams. How are your dreams going? Let's go. Let's move. Let's go. Let's move. Because this is how it goes. The Pandora myth has got this planet. And if you look, it has changed. And what we've done as a result is that because we sense, something's changing. And because we sense about the change, we have, I'm just going to get some air in here, guys. We have formed a kind of a hybrid ego that's more than this ego, less than this, and it's traveling through here. It's kind of a bubble, and it's traveling through this part because it senses that the ordinary mortal ego is an insufficient thing. When you start asking about yourself, when you break away from being in the tribal consciousness of the ordinary world in which you grew up, you start exploring the self. You start exploring who you are. You need to go on that exploration. But you have to move into the depths of the soul. Most people don't go that deep. They stop in here because the journey of discovering the self and saying, this is who I am and this is how I feel and this is the dark side of myself. What we've done is we've scaffolded so much support for that part that people decide, I'm not going anywhere else. I like it here. I like it here. It works. I like it. There's a lot of support. The cushions are deep. The food's good. I don't have to do anything else. I get a lot of support for why I can't do things instead of why I can. I am liking it here, but good. Nobody expects anything of me except why I can't. There's endless workshops on why I can't do anything. I mean, who signs up for something why I can't do something? Who the hell does that? And then gets support for it. What do you mean you can't do it? Then don't. Go home. You should sign up because you can do it. My God. But it's become all about me and why I can't do things and getting support. And we've become societies that are all about why people have been wounded and it's okay to be there, and that's become a life. And that's become a way. And that's become an okay way to be the whole of your life. And it's become okay to withdraw from society while saying, I'm very much a part of society. And people who live that way become hostile towards society. Everything out there is poison. The food is poison. The water is da-da-da-da-da-da-da. People are that, everything, and they seal themselves up in their bubbles. And they are the Pandora travelers. And they are the ones who go into their Pandora boxes. And they see the world as they want to see it, and they don't come out. They are Pandora people. And they stay in here. While they think they're doing, they stay in their spirit world. And it's the world how they want it to be. That's as far as they go. While the world around us is changing, it is all of these are actually very fear-based choices versus very, I've got to move with the times, I've got to become part of what is actually going on and open wide the doors. Now, tell me where you are in this map, and let me see how you're doing with this lecture and this information.